Sadanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We started the discussion between the teacher and the taught. After the student asks the questions, posed in terms of 7 questions, what is the bondage, how does it come, how does it grow, and how does it go away, and what is anatma and what is atma, and how do we differentiate these two. So that there are 7 questions that are posed, and appreciating the student's questions, the teacher started teaching, and he takes first how we can get released, because that we need to know first, then we can follow the rest of the talks, because once you generate the interest that there is a possibility of the nirvana or moksha, and the moksha he defines here is the requirement of a knowledge that Atma and Brahman, the self that I am, and the Brahman, the totality that I see, are one and the same. That means I am the substratum for the entire universe. And that Aikya Bodhaka Vakyam, so the Brahma Atma Aikya Bodhaka Vakyam, and that's what is definition of Mahavakyam, where we have famous Mahavakyas, 4 Mahavakyas in the Vedanta. So Vedanta, that analysis of that is essential. So what are the Vedanta? These are the important statements in the Vedanta, where the self that I am is this total self, is the self in all, has to be understood. What about other Vakyas? They are essentially the statements that help in understanding these Mahavakyas, called Avantara Vakyani. Those are the building of logical statements so that we can understand these statements. And in the process of, and this is the essential moksha. Moksha is, knowledge is a moksha. Gaining that knowledge, and what kind of knowledge? It's not an objective knowledge, and it is a knowledge of Atma, the self, and Brahman, infinite. And interestingly, neither I can know Atma nor Brahman, because Brahman being infinite cannot be object of knowledge, and Atma being the self cannot be subject of analysis, because it's a very subject that is trying to analyze. So both are aprameyam, that means cannot be known. But at the same time, now both cannot be known, and the equation is both are the same. So how am I going to know that? And that's the reason why first Vedanta becomes a science, and a methodology has to be done where we use the words, where we can remove the confusion, because you don't need to know, because it's a self-evident, but there is something blocking that vision of myself or vision of the totality. So blockage has to be removed. What's the blockage? My misunderstanding. Therefore, it is not a study of the scripture by itself, but it's a clear understanding of the import of the scriptures. It's called a Lakshana Vakyam. It's pointing in the direction that I had to lift my mind in that. There's a very interesting sloka in the Viveka Chudamani, and we are in fact taking the Viveka Chudamani text as a basis for our analysis for this Advanced Vedanta. And in that, the statement Shankara makes is essentially Avijñāte pare tattve shastrādistu nishpala. Vijñāte pare tattve shastrādistu nishpala. So Avijñāte, if I don't know the absolute nature of the reality, Avijñāte pare tattve, then the study of scriptures is useless. Since just now we said we had to study in order to know. He said mere study of scriptures as a subject like any physics, botany or something, that kind of study is useless. And also, if I don't have a clear understanding, I may become a scholar and quote one left and right, but still I am still ajnani. That means it has to be aparoksha jnanam. It is not a paroksha jnanam or pratyaksha jnanam. It is called aparoksha jnanam because it is direct visualization of myself as that. It is not pratyaksha, means all perceptual data. It's not of that type, or indirect knowledge of knowing something that I cannot see. It's not of that either. Either pratyaksha or paroksha, but it is called aparoksha jnanam. That is immediate, direct, because it's my own self and understanding what my true nature is. Because I have a misunderstanding what I am not as I am. Therefore, what I am not has to be understood for me to know what I am. So it says, the avijñāte paretatve shastrādistu nishpala. Vijñāte viparetatve shastrādistu nishpala. Even after knowing it, that is vijñāte, after knowing the absolute, then the study of scriptures is useless. Means it has done its purpose. But we still know the shastras, so that we had to quote the shastras for the student to learn, because it is shastrasya guru vakyasya satya buddhyavadarana shraddha. Shraddha is shastram and teacher, and we said the right teacher is the one who points out the disciple. It is the scripture as an authority rather than himself as an authority, however great the teacher may be. We cannot count our personal experience of a teacher or anybody's, because personal experience can be right, but at the same time validation is done by the shastra only. If the personal experiences matches with the shastra, then it is the shastra that is really pointing out, that validating the personal experience also, and therefore it is still shastra becomes the pramana, means of knowledge. And with that understanding, the teacher leads one by one to this. Is now we have to understand what is anatma. So anatma, atma vichara, that part is being taken first. Why I need to know anatma? Because what I am not I should know, because what I am I cannot know directly. Because what I am becomes aprameyam. It cannot be a subject that this is I am, I cannot show. First I had to remove the misunderstanding. When I remove the misunderstanding, Atma glorifies it itself, reveals itself. It is self-effulgent, self-revealing. So that has to be understood. Okay, so it's on. Yes, sorry. So this has to be known. In that sense, we are trying to analyze anatma. Says what exactly anatma? Why we need to know? Because by rejecting that, we have to establish what is atma. So now in that we have to say what is anatma, because I take myself what I am not as I am. Starting from body, the physical body, I am this body. So whole my life is being spent with an understanding that I am the body. Who teaches that I am the body? It's almost like ingredient, this is me. So when the body is big, I say I am big. When the body is small, I am small. When the body is fat, I am fat. When the body is lean, I am lean. When the body is black, I am black. When the body's color is white, I am white. So the attributes of the body is taken as my attributes, and wherever the body is there, I am there, and where body is not there, I am not there. So all my transactions in the world is done through the body. Without the body, I cannot really transact. Therefore, it is so ingrained in my whole life itself that I am the body. Therefore, this teaching starts with, you are not the body. Why? Body is also an object. Why? Because I know the body. Anything I know is an object of my knowledge. I am a knower and this is known. And anything that I can point out as idam is an object. And anything that I can point out is inert. I am the one, a conscious entity, who is trying to point out the one that is inert entity. So anything objectifiable or objectify entity or any object comes under the object which is attributive, which is quality, which has the qualities and which is finite and which is can be known and therefore which is inert. all that follows. So starting from the body, the analysis starts. So body is made up of what? Body is made up of the 5 elements, that is, according to Vedanta, it is occupying some space and some time wise also, and the rest of the ingredients, at least from our chemical point, it is all the minerals, water, all that energy, everything else is involved, and that is defined as Panchabhutas. We went through the analysis of how do the Panchabhutas came into picture, and the analysis of Anatma here starts with the body analysis. Why? We have 3 bodies, as according to it: Sthula Sariram, a gross body, and Sukshma Sariram, a subtle body, and Karana Sariram, a causal body. These are the 3 bodies, and I am conscious of all the 3 bodies, and therefore I am not them, because I know them. So anything I know cannot be I. I am the knowing principle, a conscious entity, conscious of my body, and that is a gross body, Sthula Sariram. Sthula means gross body. Then Sukshma Sariram, a subtle body, and Karana Sariram, a causal body. So all these 3 bodies are being analyzed now, and starting from the grossest body, which is the physical body. How did the gross body? Gross body came from a gross matter. Why is made up of physical elements that you can analyze, objectify, looking at the microscope and looking at the X-rays. All those things are possible only for the gross body. I cannot see the mind through any objective analysis. I cannot use a telescope or microscope or any scope, and even electrical, this one, all are all gross, come under gross only, and I cannot even know what are the subtle. So we first look at the gross. How did the gross come into picture? Gross body came from the gross matter, and therefore coming from the grass, which is essentially 5 Panchabhutas, gross elements: Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi. So starting from a subtlest Akasha, that is space, Akasha, to Vayu, this is gaseous state, and Vayu, Agni, that is the energy state, and Agni, Apaha, and then the liquid state, and from the liquid state and the solid state. So 3 states of matter, energy and space constitutes all the 5 fundamental elements according to the subtlety of the creation. So from Atma, you're starting from the pure existent consciousness, which is all pervading, one without a second, that was there as though before creation, and it created in the sequentially as though from Akasha, Akasha Vayu, Vayu Agni, Agni Apaha, Apaha Prithvi. From space, space to gas, gaseous state, Vayu, and from that the Agni, the energy state, and from that the liquid state, Jalam, and from that the Prithvi, the solid state. This is the stage, and in the creation we start with these are subtle elements of these 5 subtle elements, which cannot be objectified by objective tools or analyzed by objective tools, and from those subtle elements, through process of grossification. Grossification is called Panchikaranam, and the process of Panchikaranam, one creates gross elements. So we did analyze today in terms of Akasha splits into 2, so each of the elements split into half, and one half of it keeps itself, the other half is broken into 4 pieces and distributes to the rest of the 4. Like that, once the distribution and everything becomes full again, because Akasha consists of half of Akasha, then 1/4 of Vayu, 1/4 of the Agni, 1/4 of Jalam, and 1/4 of Prithvi. Like that, all one again complete, but this is called grossification in order to become a gross elements, which forms the basis for material gross body also. Therefore, not only the gross body, the whole 14 lokas are created using this after Panchikaranam. Before the Panchakarana process, the subtle elements are there, and subtle elements form the basis for the subtle materials, which is Sukshma Sariram. So first, in the process of analysis of the gross Sariram, the scripture talks about what exactly the body. Now let's look at the body more carefully or more closely, and that's what essentially is analyzed. In this process, in the analysis of Vedanta, we went through this. What is a creative power? It's called Prakriti. This is used in Vedanta as Prakriti means the one which is Pakarshena Kruti Yogyatva, that which becomes into many. So that Prakriti became many. And what is a Prakriti? Is same as Maya. What is Maya? That which appears to be there, but is not really there. That itself is the definition of Maya. And Prakriti itself has three gunas, three qualities. It is called Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, and Tamo Guna. And they are in the balanced state. And then the further down in terms of creation, you have the three elements dissociating, forming into more subtle and grosser things also. So three gunas become attributes of all the elements that are formed. These are the fundamental properties of Prakriti being distributed through. Therefore, the shariram, the gross matter, is mostly very gross. Therefore, it is pure tamogunam aspect of it is being discussed here. And in that shariram, then in the scripture says, we have the gross body and we have a subtle body. And in the shariram also, we have gross matter, and also we have the indriyas, which are sense organs, and sense organs are subtle, and in the sense organs we have 5 senses, which we will go into more detail. But here says the sense organs and the gross body and the sthula, the sushma, the subtle body and the causal body are a total package. And why is it formed? Why particular body is formed with all the 5 senses? Because the one have vasanas, which is the tendencies and desires are there, and desires are likes and dislikes, and one has to enjoy or exhaust those vasanas, and you need an environment conducive to exhaust those vasanas. So indriyas, sense organs, will go after the sense objects, and the sense objects, when you try to enjoy, it gets hooked by those sense objects, and that becomes a bondage. So we have essentially process of grossification, the senses coming into picture and senses going out, because the Lord has created to make the senses go out, and when they go out to their objects, because eyes can only see colors and forms, ears can only hear the sounds, like that each sense organ has its own field, and they rush to the objects of their field and they get hooked up, because there are some things I like, some things I don't like. All that is state. So in every being or every animal also, the sense organs work and they get trapped. And in the Shankara, in the Viveka Chudamani, it says that each one sense organ is enough to bind them. And what about the human being with all the 5 senses functioning, and he get completely trapped? Now the beautiful slokas also in the Viveka Chudamani says, Sabdadibi panchabireva pancha panchatvamapu swagune baddha kuranga matanga patanga meena brunganara panchabiranchita kim. Says Sabdadibi, there are 5 senses. Sabdadibi means Sabda, etc. Sabda means sound. So Sabda, Sparsa, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. These are the 5. Sabda, Sparsa, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. That means sound, Sabda, Sparsa, touch, Sabda, Sparsa, Rupa, form, that is colors and subform. Sabda, Sparsa, Rupa, Rasa, taste, Gandha is smell. These are the 5. In fact, if you go analysis of Panchabhutas and subtle elements, each one characterizing the properties of that. So Akasha goes with the Shabda. Shabda Sparsha, Rupa, the Vayu consists of both Shabda and the Sparsha. You can feel the touch of cold air or a hot air. So the the Vayu also comes. So Shabda, Sparsa, Rupa. Rupa is form, it has the sound as well as the touch as well as the form of the colors also. Shabda, Sparsa, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. So each one picks up all the previous 4 properties plus additional properties of its own, like Prithvi has the Gandha also along with all other 4 properties. So this is how the scripture analyzes. So as one goes to the next level, Akashat, Vayu, Agni, it not only picks up the previous property as its own property added up, and by the time you come to earth, you have all the 5 properties. So in any one of the properties enough for binding us, and this is here Shabdadipi Panchabireva Pancha. There are 5 senses, and Panchatvamapu Swagunena Baddha. Each 5 senses go after 5 sense objects and they bind themselves into this. It says one itself is enough to bind. It says Kuranga Matanga Patanga Meena Brungana Raha. So Kuranga is a deer, get trapped because of the sound, and Matanga is an elephant because of the sparsa, that is touch, and Patanga, moth, because of the sparsas, the Sabda, Sparsa, Rupa, the form or colors, and Meena, fish, because of the taste, because you use the bite to catch the fish, and Brunga Naraha is a bee for the smell. And each one is enough to bind them because they get trapped. One can catch fish, one can catch the elephant using its own property that it is hooked up to. And what about a man who is hooked up to all the 5 senses? So he is permanently caught up with this, and therefore one has to be very careful. Therefore Shama, Dhamma, all those things are important to withdraw the mind, because the senses always go after them. We have to pull the senses back by Dhamma and Shama and invest the mind in somewhere else. So all that is essential. Therefore a description of this is important for a sadhaka to watch out, to make sure he is vigilant and he doesn't get trapped by this. And this is the where the purification of the mind comes into picture. So this 5 senses going after becomes a problem where the senses get trapped. Therefore Shankara wants one has to be careful. We'll go into more analysis of the Sthula Sariram, and then we go into the Sukshma Sariram. We'll stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.